Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Siobhan. I'm very excited to be joining you today, even if it is from very far away. I'm here to talk to you about my. We are a group of researchers that come from actually quite a few countries. I myself am from South Africa. We share this passion for making sure that AI systems work the same for everyone. So tackling fairness and um, capabilities of AI directly. We use the term AI quite loosely. This isn't a technical talk, so I won't make any attempt to explain anything technical about what I mean about AI, but you're of course welcome to ask at the end if you'd like any more specifics. I will use AI quite loosely, but you can think about this as the kind of technology that powers your search engines. So when you use Google search, there's AI in the background there. When you ask some kind of browser for recommendations, that's AI. For example, Spotify Music has some AI baked into it. Of course, there's also the automatic captioning model. So if you give it an image and ask it to caption what's in the image, there's a bit of AI there. And then I think maybe what you're most familiar with, at least in terms of what's been in the media most recently, is ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion. These models that, given some kind of text prompt or query, it will then give you a generated text or image output. So these are all examples of kinds of technologies that are becoming more and more ingrained in our daily lives. And while these technologies work really, really well for some people, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is dependent on where we are in the world. And that's not okay. It should be the same for everyone. And I hope to give you a little bit of insight today about why it might not work the same for everyone and what we can do as a community effort, the kind of contributions we can make to make sure that these systems are more fair. So I'm going to give a brief overview of why I think it is important that these models represent all our experiences and work the same for all of us. I will then give a little bit of insight into the life cycle of how these models are trained and how we interact with them and how that impacts our worldviews. And then I will launch into the more interactive part of our talk today, which is to ask you to contribute to Worldwide Dishes, but I'll get to that in a bit. And there will be time for questions. So I think just to make this move a bit more slowly, I will pause for questions at select moments. If you can then just save your questions for then. So the most important question, why is representation important? And this basically means that an AI system, in the way it is trained, has some kind of understanding of a lived experience. So these representations can take on many forms, but basically when a model is trained, it learns about the world in some way. And if it doesn't have data to learn about that representation or that experience, then it might have overrepresentation of some people. So perhaps really popularized views of society or the, the majority of what a society might look like. And it can essentially erase the experiences of others, because if that data is not available for it to be trained upon, it simply won't happen. AI has no way of for the most part, it's got very limited exploration ability. And that's why we as humans are so important in engaging with and critiquing the process of how these systems are developed. So just to give a little bit of an overview of this life cycle, a lot of the models that we interact with today, so the AI models, or the AI that we work with, has come from training data that is essentially scraped from the internet. And how does the internet come about? Again, this isn't technical talk, but we can think about this as this massive collection of images and text that we put online. So this could be through websites. So there might be some more legitimate ways that this data comes about through open source and open license images, such as Pixels, which is a stock photo provider. And of course, then the companies are always in trouble and rightly so, because it's been discovered that they've scraped some personal data as well. But essentially, how we represent the world gets put into the internet, and then and this is reflected in, and this creates some kind of representation of the world, and the internet gets this kind of idea of what the world is. Now, that's not necessarily an accurate representation of the world. There's we can go way back into history, but there are long-standing systemic injustices that prevent uh, who has contributed to history. There's this is I won't try and pack that more, but I'm sure you can think about situations in which someone got to decide how an historical event was encoded. There are power struggles right through history, and these are reflected in the documentation of history and is now ultimately being built into the internet. And the internet and subsequently the models get a very limited understanding of these social, cultural, and historical contexts. And these are reflected in the AI. And what happens with this cycle as we engage in the world and historically, these images, these texts are added to the internet, and then the models are trained on this. And these AI systems then gain this somewhat limited or skewed representation of the world. What's becoming increasingly more concerning is that we then interact with these models, and these AI can interactions with the AI, with its limited understanding of the world and perhaps some historical context or cultural diversity, as we'll talk a bit more about in a minute. As we engage with and consume this technology, that alters our own mental model of the world. And if I don't know about a certain context in a part of the world, it's going to be very difficult for me to think up that on my own. In the same way, the AI can't just magically understand someone's experience unless it's been told about it. But I'm a passive user, I consume the technology. So if I don't think critically about where that data is coming from or how that model has been trained, I might also start to get this very limited understanding of the world. And then I engage with the internet again, and I reinforce this very, very limited view and these limited representations. And this continues. So I I hope that this inspires everyone to just think a little bit more critically about what these AI systems are saying, and don't just accept that because it doesn't see your point. There's probably a very good reason for that, in that it hasn't been trained on your perspective. So I've spoken quite generally about perspectives up to this point, and there's so many ways. We are very complex individuals. We're very complex. We come from very complex cultural backgrounds, very complex geographical and social identities. But we need to start somewhere. And we, in Worldwide Dishes with the team, we selected food as a lens into culture. This is a commonly shared experience across everyone. No matter where you're from, no matter your background, we all share this engagement with food as human beings. It's a core part of our lives, and that gives us a common language to talk about. So when we start to think about how an AI system might work or how the data is that it's trained upon, we have this common grounding, which is food, and specifically the food that we associate with our homes and our cultures. And we can all consider us we engaged with in multiple ways, and it's something that someone else from a different region will not easily understand in terms of your unique cultural perspective, but there's at least this understanding of how much social importance and cultural importance that food can hold. And we hope to use community input. So as we're about to do, we'll be engaging in this exercise to submit a dish from our homes and cultures into Worldwide Dishes. And then this data will be used as a way to continuously probe these models to see, do these models have the capacity or the ability to understand someone's perspective? and specifically underrepresented regions. So not just the New York experience of what food might be, but where we come from. So the food that's unique to, I'm from Pretoria, so the food that I find around there is very different to what I find in the UK now. But again, there is some, and some things are similar because food moves, culture moves. But I hope to, and I've tried already to put that into worldwide dishes so that there's some kind of way for us as researchers to systematically test these models. Great. So just a little bit on data collection. I don't know if you've engaged with these projects before, but from what I understand, a lot of us, if not all of us, are from the African continent. To just empower everyone to understand just how important your data is. We are a relatively small team, so we are limited in resources, but we do understand the value of the data that you are giving us. So I would just like everyone to rest assured that the data that you are giving us will be used in a respectful way. Your privacy will be maintained, but we are also very eager to acknowledge the contributions. So if you can today, I will ask you to register, and this will allow us to acknowledge your contributions in all public releases of the data. If you'd rather remain anonymous, that's completely fine. But the reason why I mention this is because there's suddenly this move to make Africans the data collectors of the world. And I think I would like to empower everyone today to understand just how important your perspectives are, and it should not be given for free. And there are so many ways that we can contribute to the developments of AI, and sharing our perspectives is a very important but very personal part of that. So we, in our capacity, we will be providing credit as far as we can. But I want you to know how important it is, and how much of an impact your data can have today. I don't know if it's a good idea to pause for questions here or to launch into the exercise and then do questions at the end.
Are there questions at this stage? I think we can do the practical and
Okay,
then.
I'm going to assume that we'll launch into the exercise. So for the next 10 minutes, I will leave this up in, so for 10 minutes, we will devote to this data collection. In about 5 minutes, I will pull up the website so we can see the submissions coming through. If you follow this link, I believe it has been made available to you, and hopefully the QR code works. But you can also just type in worldwidedishes.com and it should work. And you will see that we have a leaderboard where we can track submissions as they come in. So I will leave this up for 5 minutes, and then I will switch to the leaderboard view, but you can continue collecting data, and then we'll wrap up in 10 minutes time. So just to summarize, the task right now is to follow the link, worldwidedishes.com, and submit a dish from your home and your culture, something that you associate closely. And we'll then have a look and see what's coming through in a minute. So if you could do that now, think of one dish that you associate with home and your culture, and please fill it in on the website.
So we've got 5 minutes to do this?
No, 10 minutes. I will just switch the screen view in 5 minutes so we can see the leaderboard.
Okay. Anelda just asked if how do you know if the dish has been published?
Do you mean if someone else has submitted it before?
That's correct.
Okay. I wouldn't worry too much about that because we will be merging the data sets. But let me actually quickly go to the website and then I can show you. Okay, so this is the first screen that you will see as it pops up. If you come to the leaderboard, you will then see a list of countries, and you will see that we've had submissions from more than 50 countries. If you click on a country, so I'm most familiar with South Africa, so I always go there. And then we can see all the dishes that have been submitted to date. When you've submitted your dish, you will then, based on the region that you chose, you will be able to review other people's input. So the submission, so you can comment on it, or if you really like it, then you can give it a thumbs up. So I wouldn't worry too much about duplicates.
Hi, Siobhan. So sorry for the technical challenges we've had. And now
No, not
people
a
are hearing me
problem.
twice. We've got 2 questions here. If there's a typo, can you fix? So if you see someone else's submission that has a typo, is it possible to fix it?
So if it's from the same region that you've submitted, there's a step 3 where you can comment on what someone else has done. So in that case, I'd encourage you to submit your dish and then you can comment on the typo.
Fantastic. And you've answered this previously when we discussed this, but I'm going to ask for the convenience of the audience. There's a question about the language in which data is submitted. You have a place where you can submit the name in the local language. What about the rest of the data?
So far as possible, English, uh, but please submit it anyway. The ingredients, I expect there will not be English words for a lot of it, so please don't try to use English there. Ingredients in the local language is absolutely fine. For some of the longer form answers, it will be helpful to us if it's in English, but if it's not, we will make a plan. So long as we know what the language is, we can try and make a plan. But it's please don't worry too much about it. English as far as you can, but local languages also completely fine.
Excellent, thank you. And just to say why that's the answer that Siobhan has given, they're a very small team at the moment, and this is kind of the first version of the project. And I'm sure if it takes off, there will be opportunity for collaboration, for translations, and all the beautiful things. But this is just the start.
Exactly. Yeah. But we will very much work with what we get. So please do submit the dish, even if it's not in English.
So for your own interest, Siobhan, we just had a presentation and a little bit of an activity around contributing to Wikipedia.
Mm.
So this is following up very much on that presentation. And sorry for the hearing myself twice, but what I was thinking when Siobhan was talking was that the previous exercise was kind of giving us a lens into culture. This is just another way in which we can share the diversity and make sure that the world doesn't look like New York only.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that you were talking about Wikipedia. So I actually have a statistic on that. I'm not sure if it was mentioned in the talk, but the last statistic I know is that 4% of AI is trained on Wikipedia, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a significant enough amount that it makes a difference. So the more we can share our history and our perspectives on Wikipedia, the more difference it will make as well. So Wikipedia is a really great way to make sure our perspectives are shared as well.
I think another thing that we just wanted to mention is there's a bit of a time sensitivity around this project. Siobhan's team will be closing submissions soon.
Yes, at the end of this week.
So for those people who are contributing, and you would like to contribute, maybe not now, but maybe later, or you would like to bring in some of your family members or your colleagues or students, there's still another week to do this, a week and a bit. And then after that, they will start working on a release of the first version of the data set.
Yes, exactly.
And that is then where you will also be able to get credit for your contributions. So it's not something that's going to happen in the same time scale as a publication. It's a shorter timeline to put your name to something that you've done.
Yes, we hope to have version 1 out by the end of May. So it's hopefully you'll be able to see your contribution very, very quickly.
For Pakistan? Okay, we've got one submission for Pakistan. One or two? One submission from Pakistan. It's a colleague that we have from Northwest University, but from Pakistan.
Very cool. I can already see it on the leaderboard.
Ooh, what is it?
Let's learn. If you click on the dish, you can then see a little bit more about the ingredients, what it looks like. Oh, and that's the recipe. Yes. So I think I've had a lot of fun. I've actually lost a lot of productivity just playing around on the website, learning about all the food as it comes in. But it's a lot of fun to see what everyone else is doing as well.
What's happening in Congo today?
Oh, I am so proud of these submissions. We have spent the last 2 weeks trying to figure out why the website wasn't accessible, and it turned out to be a network issue, which we literally solved this morning. So there's a huge influx of activity from the Congo today, which we're very, very excited about. It's been a bit of a stressful situation trying to work out why it wasn't working.
Wonderful. Any other questions, comments? Siobhan, if people wanted to learn more about the project or wanted to see how they could contribute in future or collaborate, is there contact details on the website?
Yes, there are contact details on the website. I don't know how easy it will be I can share our sign up link to be a community ambassador. But if you, again, the best way is to submit a dish. So we have your contact details and then we will reach out to you for more information. But I will, we have a contact us page. So that's one way. And I can then also share with you, Ronaldo, our sign up link to be a community ambassador, which is basically a small community. We have a Google group and a WhatsApp chat that we use for this data collection period. And then we'll move to email once the data collection period closes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Do you have a question about photos? No.
No, I didn't.
People are asking do you have to take a photo yourself or can you get one off the internet?
So it depends. So in this step, the first step, it can only be a photo you took because you need to be able to give us permission to use the photo. And that's very important in terms of research data sets, that we have the correct permissions to use it. If you don't have a photo, that's absolutely no problem. You just click this button, go to the next step. On the next page, we'll ask you to submit a internet photo if you can. But it's very important that we know if it's your photo or if it comes from the internet. So it's all possible on the website.
Thank you. You've thought of a lot of things.
No, we think community data collection needs to be non-exploitative, non-extractive. So we really tried to make sure that the process is as respectful as possible and that everyone's data is used in a way that is open and also it doesn't manifest the same differences that and inequalities that have come out from the past. So
Siobhan,
no,
thank you
not a
so
problem.
much for joining us.
It was really great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And we'll let you know what happens on the site if there's more interest or submissions or interest to collaborate going forward.
Fantastic. And yeah, I'll make sure you have all the necessary links and contact information.
Thank you.